Hello and welcome back to Echo English. Have you ever felt frustrated because you understand English but struggle to speak it fluently? Do you often find yourself searching for words, translating in your mind, or feeling nervous during conversations? If so, you are not alone. Millions of English learners around the world face the same challenge every day. But what if I told you that the secret to speaking better English is not speaking more? What if the real key to fluency is something most learners completely overlook? In today's video, we are going to explore one of the most powerful habits that can transform your English speaking skills: listening more. You will discover why listening is the foundation of fluency, how it trains your brain to think in English, and why the world's most successful language learners spend so much time listening before they become confident speakers. So, if you are ready to improve your pronunciation, expand your vocabulary, boost your confidence, and speak English more naturally, stay with me until the end of this video. And before we begin, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to Echo English, and turn on notifications so you never miss our weekly English learning content. Now, let's dive into the hidden secret of English fluency: listen more, speak better. Listen more, speak better. The hidden secret of English fluency. Imagine two English learners. The first learner spends hours memorizing grammar rules, studying vocabulary lists, and worrying about making mistakes. The second learner spends a large part of their day listening to English conversations, podcasts, stories, and interviews. After a year, who do you think speaks more naturally? Surprisingly, it is often the second learner. Many people believe that speaking fluently comes from speaking more. While practice is important, the truth is that great speakers are usually great listeners first. In fact, listening is the foundation upon which fluent speaking is built. Yet, it is one of the most ignored skills among English learners. Most learners try to force words out of their mouths before they have allowed enough English into their minds. They want to harvest fruit before planting the seeds. They focus on the final result, speaking fluently, without developing the skill that makes fluency possible: listening. Your brain learns more than you realize. Every time you listen to English, something extraordinary happens inside your brain. Even when you feel like you are not learning, your brain is quietly collecting information. It notices pronunciation patterns. It learns where speakers pause. It discovers how words connect. It recognizes common phrases and sentence structures. Think of your brain as a giant sponge. Every piece of English you hear gets absorbed little by little. At first, the progress is invisible. You may listen to a podcast and understand only a few words. You may watch a video and feel lost. This can be discouraging. But beneath the surface, your brain is building connections. Day after day, those connections grow stronger. Eventually, words that once sounded like noise become meaningful. Sentences that seemed impossible suddenly become understandable. The most amazing part is that much of this learning happens automatically. You do not need to consciously memorize every phrase. Your brain naturally learns patterns through repeated exposure. Why children become fluent so easily? Consider how children learn their first language. Before they speak a single sentence, they spend thousands of hours listening. They hear their parents talking, family members chatting, and people communicating around them. Nobody gives a baby a grammar textbook. Nobody asks a toddler to memorize vocabulary lists. Instead, children absorb language through listening. They hear the same words repeatedly until those words become familiar. They hear sentence patterns so often that they eventually start using them naturally. As English learners, we often try to reverse this process. We focus on speaking first and listening second. But language acquisition works best when listening comes before speaking. The more English you hear, the more naturally English begins to feel. The hidden reason you struggle to speak. Have you ever experienced this situation? You know the vocabulary, you understand the grammar. Yet, when someone asks you a simple question in English, your mind suddenly goes blank. You hesitate, you search for words, you translate from your native language. By the time you find an answer, the conversation has already moved on. This happens because speaking is not simply about knowing words, it is about having quick access to language patterns stored in your brain. When you listen extensively, those patterns become familiar. Instead of creating every sentence from scratch, your brain begins using structures it has heard hundreds of times before. Fluent speakers do not build every sentence word by word. They use language chunks and patterns that have become automatic through exposure. And exposure comes primarily from listening. Listening builds natural pronunciation. One of the biggest fears among English learners is pronunciation. Many people worry that their accent sounds strange, they fear being misunderstood, they become self conscious whenever they speak. What if there were a way to improve pronunciation without constantly studying pronunciation rules? There is. It is called listening. When you hear native speakers regularly, your brain starts creating a mental model of how English should sound. You begin noticing stress patterns. You hear how speakers connect words together. You learn where their voices rise and fall. Over time, your pronunciation improves naturally because your ears are teaching your mouth. The words you hear repeatedly become the words you can pronounce more confidently. The power of listening every single day. Imagine dropping a single drop of water onto a rock. One drop changes nothing. 100 drops change nothing. Even 1,000 drops seem insignificant. But millions of drops over time can carve a hole through solid stone. Listening works exactly the same way. One English podcast will not make you fluent. One movie will not transform your speaking skills. One conversation will not change your life. But listening every day for months and years creates extraordinary results. Small daily actions often produce massive long term changes. The learner who listens for 30 minutes every day will often outperform the learner who studies grammar for hours but rarely listens. Listen to understand, not to translate. One of the biggest obstacles to fluency is constant translation. Many learners hear an English sentence and immediately try to convert every word into their native language. This habit slows down comprehension and speaking speed. Instead, try listening for meaning rather than translation. When someone says, I am running late, don't translate each word individually. Understand the situation, visualize the meaning. As you listen more, your brain gradually learns to connect English directly to ideas rather than translating through another language. This is one of the most important milestones on the journey to fluency. The day English starts feeling natural, every English learner reaches a magical moment. It doesn't happen overnight. It doesn't happen after a single lesson. It happens after months of consistent listening. One day you suddenly realize that you understood an entire conversation without translating. You watch a video and forget that it is in English. You respond to someone without carefully planning every word. You begin thinking in English. This moment feels almost unbelievable because it arrives quietly. There is no announcement, no certificate, no dramatic transformation. but it is the result of hundreds of hours spent listening. The English that once felt foreign now feels familiar. The language that once seemed difficult now feels natural. The secret that most fluent speakers know. If you ask highly fluent English speakers how they improved, many will tell you the same thing. They listened. They listened while walking. They listened while traveling. They listened while exercising. They listened during their free time. Some learned from movies, some learned from podcasts, some learned from audiobooks, different methods but the same principle. They surrounded themselves with English until English became a normal part of their lives. Fluency was not created in a single moment, it was built through thousands of moments of listening. If you truly want to speak better English, stop asking only how can I speak more, start asking how can I listen more. Listening is not the passive skill many people think it is. It is one of the most powerful forms of language training. It strengthens vocabulary, improves pronunciation, develops comprehension, increases confidence, and prepares your brain for fluent speech. The next time you feel frustrated about your English speaking skills, remember this. Your mouth can only produce what your ears have repeatedly heard. Feed your mind with English every day. Listen to stories, listen to conversations, listen to podcasts, listen even when progress feels slow. Because every minute you spend listening is an investment in the fluent speaker you are becoming. And one day, without realizing exactly what it happened, you will open your mouth and discover that the English you struggled to learn has become a natural part of who you are. If listening is the key to speaking fluently, what would happen to your English after listening to just 30 minutes of English every day for the next 365 days? And with that, we have come to the end of today's video. Remember, fluency doesn't begin when you start speaking, it begins when you start listening. Every podcast you hear, every conversation you follow, every story you listen to is training your brain to understand, think, and eventually speak English more naturally. Don't worry if process feels slow right now. Language learning is not a race, it is a journey of small consistent steps. The English you listen to today becomes the English you speak tomorrow. So make listening a daily habit, stay patient and trust the process. Imagine where your English could be 1 year from now if you listen to just 30 minutes of English every day. The confidence, the vocabulary, the pronunciation, and the ability to express yourself freely could completely transform your life. If you found this video helpful, please give it a thumbs up, share it with other English learners, and subscribe to Echo English for more powerful lessons, inspiring stories, and practical tips to help you become fluent in English. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Before you go, here is a question for you. If listening is the bridge between understanding English and speaking English, how far could that bridge take you if you crossed it every single day? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Until next time, keep learning, keep listening, and keep growing. Goodbye.